Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. This is Let's Talk Football, and today we've got special guest Jacque Talbot on, giving us some transfer news, and we're going to talk about Newcastle. Are they going to make top four? And we also want to get his thoughts on the Middle Eastern ownership, given United are involved in that at the minute, and Newcastle are bought by them. So are you ready to go? So let's talk football on Mufc Realist TV. Let's do it. Jody, how you doing, buddy?
Good morning, good afternoon, good wherever everyone in the world. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. I am absolutely pissed off, to be honest with you. To be honest with you, I'll tell you why I'm pissed off. VAR is it's not the technology I have the problem with. It's the people using the technology. And it's become more and more apparent that they cannot seem to get anything right. And I think we need to go to more independent. I watched this. There's 50 plus cameras at traffic. It's an absolute disaster. So I'm really happy to have Jacque because I know there was an incident in the Newcastle game yesterday, which is a talk on it. And obviously we're touching on Middle East ownership because Jacque as a Newcastle United fan, gone through the motion. So I really am curious on this. So let's get Jacque in and let's go.
Yeah, let's get him in and see what he thinks about you calling him a Manchester United fan.
Hello, thank you. Right. How's it going? You're right. Yeah, not a Man United fan. Live in Manchester, but family in Newcastle. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Jacque, I'm going to give you the floor. I want you to tell everyone how you came into the industry, how long you've been supporting Newcastle. Just give everyone a little run introduction to yourself, if that's okay.
Well, I've supported Newcastle since I was about 10, I think. About 10 when they were pretty good in about 2001. And then they went terrible a few years after. So it hasn't been the most enjoyable experience. I'm from the south. I have no affiliation with the city or the club. But I guess everyone around me, Man United and Arsenal. So I figured that I wanted to sort of change it up. In terms of football and my career at the moment, I was a news reporter in Spain. I've always had an interest in doing football stuff, and I moved out of it. And then about a year ago, I sort of fell into transfers, I'd say. Just started to do it by talking to a few agents and stuff, and it snowballed from there, and the contact book's gone up. And quite a couple of howlers here and there. It's been okay. And so I am enjoying it. I like Football Transfers now, the site. They're sort of growing. And so I do enjoy transfers. I wanted to be an analyst, but that didn't work out too well. And here I am now on this show, about 14 months later.
How do you enjoy the journalism aspect of what?
So what's that?
How do you enjoy the journalism aspect of what you do, like the research and the writing, creativity? How do you enjoy it?
It's okay. I mean, it depends what mood you're in. I mean, on our site, we do a lot of analysis as well, and that can take a bit more time. We're plugged into a site called Sky Sports. So if you wanted to do a piece, say, looking at the best options, say, Man United have up front for less than 50 million, it's quite fun to do a piece around that. I suppose for me, I enjoy talking to people and finding things out and digging and networking. That's what I thrive on, really. Less so than just putting stuff out, because I find that a bit scary, to be honest, when you actually publish a story. It's the actual process of doing it, which is quite fun. You do find yourself in the spotlight a lot, which is understandable. And understandably as well, there's a lot of scrutiny around transfer journalists, because you do get people who would make stuff up and put it out there. And so it was hard at first to see my name out there, not in the best light. People will say stuff like, "I've never met you," but that's part. I've just sort of learned that's part of what I do, and I've just got to get thicker skin, I suppose.
You just got to blank that out, haven't you? Really?
Yeah, it's going to happen sometimes. Other people have it. Even the biggest transfer journalists will get it, and it's probably not helped by other people who just put out anything kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just online, isn't it? You just got to realize it's not real life, I suppose.
Yeah, no one's coming at you on the street, really, are they? It's just all the trolls and
Not yet. No, no one's coming at me on
people
the
that
street.
clearly got severely hurt at some point in their childhood where they have massive trust issues. Because
Well,
straight away,
we've
who are
seen
you?
that
What
around
team
that,
are
yeah.
you? Blah blah blah. No, get over it.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know. There seems to be a certain type of account that can be particularly vicious. It's usually the anonymous ones, but I guess because they're anonymous, it doesn't really carry much weight. And yeah, maybe childhood experiences, negative ones, have impacted them, I suppose.
You do get, to be honest, I do watch some of you. I do read a lot of your stuff on Twitter, to be fair. And you do have a lot of ITKs coming after you, don't you, to be fair? All these Twitter ITKs that come after you, and they don't, it's not what they do for a living. Most of them probably work in a warehouse, to be fair. And they just do tend to just come after you on Twitter, don't they, for no apparent reason, not realizing this is what you do for your networking. You're building your entirety of contacts and finding out information. They don't realize for you to do one story, it's probably about 20 to 30 calls or emails, for instance, just to get one story to break.
Yeah, there's it's only a matter of diligence in it and verification and stuff. And I feel the longer you're in it, the easier it gets to do that. Because at the start, if I got a bit of information, I'll just get one bit of information. Where do I turn to? But now I'm able to go to even other reporters or wherever people know at certain clubs, and you're able to verify it. But yeah, the people who come on you online, you know, I say it's just sort of part of it. And I know you just got to pay it no mind, I suppose. I enjoy what I do. I'm in a very privileged position. I'm totally grateful for it. And that's what I suppose I'll just sort of focus on, you know. And that said, you know, I also feel that information is readily available for some people, and you don't have to be a qualified journalist to go and get it. And people can get their own sources nowadays, especially the world we live in with online and even LinkedIn and stuff. It is possible to do it. But yeah, it's just, I say, there is a process to it, and I mean, for me, it's sort of been making mistakes and learning from the mistakes, and hopefully improving from there on.
So
I just want to say, Jody, let me just jump in a mate, because apparently getting a few comments saying there's a lot of feedback, and I notice you do keep cutting out now and then. So if you could just try mute your mic when you're not talking and see if that helps. I don't know who it is, so see like that.
To be fair, I have a feeling I know what it is. To be fair, it's so hot down here in the Caribbean. I've got the AC on. I have a feeling that's it. It's ridiculously hot this morning. It's been hot since like 7 o'clock this morning, and I'm talking like in the 30s already. So
stop rubbing it in, Jody.
right now.
Just before we get to Jack regarding any transfer news you might have for United fans, just go through some of the comments that aren't complaining about background noise and interference. Sports Capital, big up lads. Kalula, good afternoon all. What else have we got here? We've got Power Hour. Shout out to you all. Have an amazing week. Why? I was asking Kalula if she's free tonight. Date night.
Wow, guys. Talk about
We've got Matt. Great to have the gang back, are you, Jody and Niall? Not to mention transfer guru Talbot. There you go. Some positivity for you there, Jack. Not any trolls coming in.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
No, what else have we got?
Fun show. It's not too bad.
We've got Red Dead United. Did you highlight how much we miss Mason Greenwood, considering his lack of right foot and could play all three positions? I mean, that's up to the club, mate. It doesn't matter what we say, does it? So whether we like it, want him back or not, he'll be either back or not, won't he? Nothing we can do about that.
Okay, so my first
finally, I feel you have to be accurate when reporting news and not to be definitive if you aren't 100%.
Yeah, that's true.
From Philosophy, welcome to the show, Jack.
Thank you. Football Philosophy, hello.
So my first football banter transfer for Jack is I will trade you Scott McTominay and Fred for Bruno Gomes.
Would I accept that? I don't actually mind Scott McTominay too much. I think that he isn't Man United quality. He probably isn't top 4 quality, but I think he's Premier League quality. It's really strange. I don't know why I remember this, but when you played Villarreal in the Europa League, the final, I think he was. I know you lost, I think, but he was outstanding. But no, I'm happy to move on to Bruno Guimaraes tomorrow. To be honest with you, and yeah, and I don't know what's happening with Fred, if he'll stay, or I think he'll probably go anyway. But he certainly needs another central midfielder, though.
Yeah, I mean, I was gutted that we missed out on Guimaraes. I mean, why didn't we go for him? Cheap as chips, really.
It's called the Glazers not having a permanent manager and not willing to put their money in where their mouth is come January window. And it's probably one of the best transfers, I think, for Newcastle in a while. To be fair, I thought it was a brilliant transfer. So let's talk transfers, Jack, because I know it's your speciality. Where do you see Newcastle with transfers going into the summer? Where do you think they need to strengthen to maintain their top 4 right now?
We missed out on getting a central midfielder in January. I think we were looking at the very end at maybe even Gallagher at Chelsea. That's an issue we need to address. We've got Joe Linton, we've got 𝒊𝒄𝒌 𝑹𝒖𝒃𝒚 in the middle there. I think we're after a number 6, so Guimaraes can play a little bit more advanced. So I think the most likely be a central midfielder, possibly another winger, possibly another striker, and maybe another central defender. And certainly,
it sounds like Manchester United's transfer list.
Yeah, no, I just remembered as well. We've got Dan Burn playing at left back at the moment, which is I'm not sure if that's part of the formula where they make a free and Trippier goes up, but possibly another left back, more than likely another left back. I feel who can maybe play
a left back that seems to have had a lot of traction, a lot with Newcastle. Is he's dropped out. Is Kieran Tierney coming to Newcastle? Do you think that would be a good signing?
I think people would. I think he's a tremendous player. I think the only thing with him would be if he's injury. I don't know if it's like he's pulling a muscle or he's just had bad luck. But his fitness concerns are well documented, and I feel that's probably the reason why he's gone down the pecking order at Arsenal. I wouldn't be over the moon with it. I know that sounds ridiculous considering Newcastle were in a relegation battle last season, but just in terms of his fitness and how much Arsenal would demand financially for him, I feel there'd be better options in the market out there than Kieran Tierney. But I'd also be very happy to be proved wrong. And if he did get a consistent season, I think it'd be wonderful.
Well, one opinion I had, Jack, on some business I thought you should have done. I don't know whether you'd agree with me or not, but do you think missing out on Lucas Paqueta was a big loss? Because him and Bruno in that centre of midfield, I thought would have completely changed the dynamic.
Loads of fans did want Paqueta to come in, and there was a lot of speculation, but I think a lot of that was generated by Guimaraes sort of being on social media and speaking with Paqueta and sort of dropping his own hints, really. I think he'd be a great signing for us. I think, though, out of the two, out of Paqueta and someone like James Maddison, who play quite similar roles, I've probably got for Maddison just because of his volume of goals and assists over the past 2-3 seasons is out of this world. I don't think there's many better number 10s in the Premier League. Maybe Odegaard is better, but there's certainly not many. So yeah, I'm not gutted about Paqueta. It was always a little bit pie in the sky that because we needed to get that striker in, and we got Isaac. And he seems to be at West Ham, but I suppose if they did get, I don't think they will get relegated, but if they did go down, then I don't know if they'd be able to selling him, and any other clubs would be willing to take him on. So that could be something. I mean, it's possible we went back in there for him with Maddison, because I reckon there's a few clubs in for Maddison as well. With his contract up in 24, I think.
See, personally, I wouldn't have even played Paqueta as a 10. I would have had him in the centre of midfield with Bruno, personally.
Yeah,
I thought that would have been a great partnership.
6. The thing about they're both, to be fair, they're both great box-to-boxes, but you'd still need a 6 at some point.
Yeah, I think, I mean, for me, it won't happen, but I'd love to get Declan Rice. I think he'll leave. I think it's well known he'll leave to West Ham, but he'll probably go to a Champions League side like Arsenal or something. I think Declan Rice would be absolutely tremendous. I think he's a little bit underrated.
Champions League team next season.
Yeah, that's very true.
So is it, before we obviously talk a lot more about Newcastle. Is there any news you have regarding Manchester United and transfers? Any links?
What do we do?
Maybe not have heard of.
Yeah, no, we just sort of, I mean, just about regurgitating what we did over the summer about the Ten Hag looking at an overhaul. We were the first to say, football transfers, that is, that Maguire would go. We've said Fred would go. The whole overhaul players, Wan-Bissaka will still go. I know he's had a good sort of first start to the year, but he'll eventually leave as well. Obviously, it's well documented out there about, you getting that marquee striker in the summer, whether that be Kane or Sheehan. And I think Ramos is on that list as well, but that's been reported elsewhere. Big central midfielder signing, whoever that may be. Again, the De Jong links are there. It's quite clear that Ten Hag really liked him, but I can't see that happening. Again, I don't think Man United can afford to go into another window hoping that he comes. You got Casemiro now. I wonder again if they look at Declan Rice or someone like that to come in. I'm not entirely sure about these Mount links we've had. It seems a bit bizarre to me why you'd want Mason Mount, but there we are. But certainly, and you've got the, I'm sure we might talk about it, the Qatari takeover or whoever it might be, Ratcliffe takeover. So there should be a fair bit of money there in the summer. But I guess things have got to conclude on the front of the ownership. So I'm going out of frame then. I didn't mean to.
I just want to touch on the midfielder. You were talking about midfielder. You've had a lot of links. You're talking about Frankie de Jong. Still obviously highly sought after. The links will not seem to cease for some reason. We know he's one of the best aggressive midfielders. So I think there is a possibility of a deal being done there with Barcelona's financial status. I think they owe 198 million. They can't buy any players. They're about to face a transfer ban. And on top of that, they're now in trouble where they can be relegated to La Liga C due to match fixing. The scale of the match 17 years in total. So I think there's a possibility of deal there. But I've seen a name popped up in the last 24 hours, which I wanted to touch when I thought I was going to message you about it. And I thought, you know what? Paulinho at Fulham is now being linked to Manchester United. Could you see that being a good? We don't go after Frank. Could you see him and Casemiro working as that double pivot and actually improving Manchester United?
Yeah, I think I saw him linked. I think it was the Sun who did that story about him being looked at by Man United. I'm sure maybe he's in the moment. He moved to Fulham only last summer. He's still got 4 years left in his deal. Unless Man United are willing to go over the top. I know it says somewhere about 40 million euros, but I think it would cost a lot more than that because of how well he's done.
Oh no, I saw 60 million pounds it would cost.
60, okay. Well, that seems a bit more reasonable for me. And if you push to move, but the fact he's got 4 years left in his deal, and I mean it's possible that Fulham even get a European play. I think a lot expected them to go down. So yeah, I mean Portuguese contingent, probably one of the best players this season. There's a lot to like about him, but I couldn't foresee him leaving this window just from the outside looking in, or Fulham being willing to budge on that front. They've had such a good year. The fact his contract's so expensive, and then you've got someone like Ruben Neves as well, kind of a similar player at Wolves, who is out of contract. I don't believe he signed anything at Wolves, so it just would represent a bit of a cheaper option, I feel. But yeah, it's obviously a very good player. I think he's 27, so still a lot of years to go for him. It wouldn't be my first choice because of the price, but you can see why Man United might like him.
Yeah. And Banjo is asking you as well, Jack. He said, top work, guys. Jack, do you have any updates on the Rashford contract?
No, I don't. I think I asked a question to the club about 3 weeks ago about Rashford and someone else. I can't remember who it was. Was it Dalot? Yeah. So no, nothing at the moment. I imagine it's all. I think they triggered 1 year, haven't they? So it's 2024 now.
Yeah.
They triggered that, and then they're just talking about going over the top. Yeah, there was some movement about PSG looking at him. I mean, that could even re-spark, giving, I don't know, Messi and Neymar might leave, and they're very interested in him. But no, nothing yet. In short, no. I can't see anything other than him signing it, to be honest. But
yeah, that was what I was just going to say. I think it's just a case of when, not if. He's not going anywhere, really, is it?
No, especially not after this season. I think if he's had another, because it hasn't been plain sailing for Rashford at Man United. Maybe if it was like another really dour season, but he's had his best year ever.
Yeah.
Arguably, his best year ever. And the Man United are looking up, and he's from Wythenshawe, South Manchester. It's a local lad, and I think he'll be at Man United for a long time.
Yeah. Have you got anything else, Jody, before we start talking about Newcastle? Because we've got a few comments asking his thoughts on Newcastle.
No, please jump in. I just want to see. Obviously, Matt's brought in a comment here, and I just want to get Jack's take on it. To be honest with you, Newcastle have benefited primarily from a proper structure, e.g., Ashworth, proper coaching, e.g., Howe. They've punched above their weight class this season. I wouldn't say they've punched above their weight class, Matt, because you kind of saw when Howe came in, the structure being organised on the field. So you knew that their target was fighting the Champions League. I don't think they punched above it. They've just gone back to where they rightfully should have been. Everyone forgets Newcastle was a Champions League club before Ashworth, to be fair.
Yeah, we've been around the block a bit in terms of Europe, especially it's probably 20 years ago now, and then in the 90s we're pretty good as well. I think that we were expecting a bit of a cup run and a top 8 finish. I think most fans would have been happy with that. But the way in which we finished the season and the matches in which we won, maybe there was a bit of thought about, or could we get Champions League? As arrogant as that was at the time, I feel Newcastle fans do see, as you say, the club of being of the standing of sort of top 5, top 6 in the league. Whether people agree with that or not, I'm not sure. But it's been a good season. I think even if we finish 7th, it'll be a bit disappointing. But there's no way. We've gone to Wembley, and we went to Wembley. The old one in '99 was our last one when you won the treble and you beat us in the final. If you're Man United fans, I think you are. So it was a wonderful experience, really, all round. And it's been a positive season. I'm sure we'll kick on for the next one. And I still don't think we'll get Champions League, but who knows?
I mean, personally, I don't think you're punching above your weight. Everyone's saying that because you was pretty much nearly relegated. But I saw this coming this season because as soon as Eddie Howe took over, from the moment he joined the club to the end of that current season, by form table, from when he's been in charge, you would have finished second. So for me, this season is not a surprise. The only surprise is how he's managed to keep that level of consistency with that team for basically a season and a half. That's the unbelievable part. But the league position saw it coming all day.
Yeah, the form table was pretty great to us. I think 2022. I don't know what we finished at, but it was very high. And I often forget about our defensive record this season, which has just been ridiculous. I think with the highest, I think the second highest is Arsenal. We've conceded 7 goals less than them, or something like that. So
last time I looked, you conceded 15 goals, and like you said, Arsenal were the next best, and they conceded 23. I think it was at the time.
Yeah, when they're first, so if we just got that attacker in, another attacker or another number 10, then that could be a little bit higher. But steady as it goes next season.
I think that's probably what you're lacking, just like United, just someone to finish them, because you're not scoring the goals, but you are not conceding them.
Yeah, we're creating chances. We're doing everything else apart from just not getting it in the net. And I think a lot of it's down to, it sounds harsh to say, but Callum Wilson's just been a bit off form recently. That's why we dropped him against who we played yesterday. I can't remember. Wolves.
Wolves.
We Wolves, and we had Isaac in there, and we got the win. So it's not all down to Callum Wilson. There've been other frailties, but if we just had an extra attacker that could have come in, the fact we sold Chris Wood to Nottingham Forest, keep forgetting about that. I'm not saying he could have done the job, but it would have been good to have another striker there, really.
Yeah. For Power Hour, just said form table is good, but it can be deceiving too, which is correct.
Yeah.
And on that, I think you touched on that. You don't think you'll get Champions League football, but Phil's asked, where do you think Newcastle will finish this season, and what are your expectations for the United game in a few weeks?
I think Newcastle will finish 5th in the table. I think that Man United will be third. I thought Liverpool might creep up behind it, but I think Spurs will just get it. I think with their attacking and the way they're playing at the moment. I know they got their own issues, but I think we'll just miss out. And I'll be delighted with fifth. I'll be over the moon about fourth, but delighted with fifth.
Yeah.
On the Man United game, we've got a bit of a break. I don't know about you guys, but we've got Forest. You didn't have a game.
We don't have any breaks at all. We're solid all the way through to the season.
Right. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, we've got a 2-week break before we play you. So we're playing this weekend, the 17th, I think, and then we don't play you until the 2nd of April. So we've got that. Whether you feel that, I don't know, but I sometimes think it's good to have games and have that pattern. A long break and kind of take the wind out your sails a bit. So yeah, and I think obviously with the 7-0 loss, it could have, knocked a bit of morale. Casemiro's got 4-game ban as well. And you've got Real Betis, I think, or you played Real Betis, didn't you? You've got Southampton.
We've got Betis again on Thursday, and then we've got the FA Cup on the Saturday or the Sunday.
Fulham on Sunday.
Right. So you've got a fair few games there. So it depends, I guess it'd be harder to determine now. I think have we got you at St James's? I think that'd be right. We're very good at St James's. We haven't lost there since April, and that was against Man City. We haven't lost there.
I didn't realise that.
Yeah, it's really our record is. We've drawn some.
Gone back to a fortress now under Eddie Howe. If everyone remembers the late 90s, early 2000s, to be fair, Newcastle used to be away was probably one of the hardest games to go to. Now. And then it's basically faded. James's Park, you come like a point or 3. Now you'd be lucky if you get a point because they shut up shop. They shut up shop with football at home.
Yeah, it's and it does remind me a lot of. I think it's the Bobby Robson. We had him. Our home form was equally as good, and I always think maybe it's something to do with the travel because everyone has to go all the way up there to do it, and then. And it's quite big. I mean, I think it's the 6th biggest now, but not too long ago, it was the 2nd biggest after Old Trafford, and it had that feel. Yeah. Very passionate fans. I know that's a bit of a cliche about Newcastle, but they are quite fervent, and that obviously that helps them a lot. And they're also very excited because we've had it bad for so long. So we're just happy to play anyone, to be honest. Like, we're just quite a joyous bunch at the moment. I'm sure the novelty will wear off soon, though. But yeah, our home record's very good. So I suspect anyway a draw or something against Man United, and I'll probably take that.
Yeah, I think you'll make the Champions League spot. I think you'll take 4th.
I think you'll take 4th.
Really do.
Hit and miss. Liverpool's hit and miss. And to be fair, the only competition I see you for that 4th spot is Brighton.
Brighton's a good shout. They're playing some really good football, aren't they?
Very good shout right now. People don't realize how many games Brighton have in hand. If they win those games, technically they go 4th. So Brighton is the one I think everyone should be worried about because 𝑷𝒉𝒊𝒔𝒉 has been playing really well. Mitoma's been unbelievable. Really does look the real deal, doesn't he?
I think they're clicking well. I'm surprised they got rid of so many players and they're able to do the job. But they keep doing it. They keep doing it, selling players and then still progressing as a club. And they are a bit of a model club actually in that regard. But yeah, let's see about Brighton. As you said, they're in a good. They've got a few games in hand, but they're not points yet. But it's certainly one to keep a watch on.
See, I think you'll be fine because yes, you had a bit of dip. You didn't win in 5 games, I think it was in a row, and then 4 or 5 games, but you didn't lose all them 4 or 5 games either. And then yesterday, I think that could be the turning point again now where you start building a bit of momentum again because you should have absolutely battered Wolves yesterday. Like you said, if you had people that could finish, you probably should have won that 5-0, 5-1. I think you'll be okay.
I hope so. It looked. We needed that win. I think it was only our 2nd win in 8. We haven't lost many games at all, but the draws really got us. And I feel the League Cup final, maybe the players at the time were just so wrapped because none of them players had been in a cup final before. I believe that none of them had, and so it was So I don't know. I think you're right. The Sunday's win could be a bit of a boost going forward.
So Jody, just before you get on to Jack regarding ownership, Middle Eastern ownership, Matt is bringing us right into that there, saying the fact that the Glazers, I won't say that word, we'll call it bled the club dry through debt, mismanagement, put us in this situation, which means investment off the pitch is more paramount than on it. So we do need the money. He is right. Go ahead, Jody.
Okay, so Jack, obviously you're fully aware. I know you've spoken a little bit about it on Twitter about obviously the takeover at Manchester United. We know there's 3 parties that got into the second round. Obviously, Al Thani from the Qatar royal family, who is his own investor. It has nothing to do with Qatar funded with QSI. It's his own thing that he's doing with his own private by Manchester United under the Naill Foundation. We've obviously got Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who already owns Nice, and obviously he's a lifelong Manchester United fan. And obviously we have Elliot.
Apparently.
Yeah, I didn't want to go there. I have to be very balanced as a journalist. I have to be very balanced about what I say. So, and then obviously you have Elliott Management, who obviously are looking to fund it. They're not looking to purchase themselves, but they're looking to give anyone funding who buy it. So I want to talk about, obviously, Newcastle were bought by Saudi Arabia and PI. And you've been through the process. Obviously, I know you guys had criticism regarding human rights, women's rights, and this sports washing. What's your take as a Newcastle fan regarding each motion you went through until you because to be fair, you guys haven't spent a lot. You've moved very, the structure has been dramatically improved. I think the structure of bringing staff in was more important, bringing the right people in. And you've seen what's been developed in Newcastle. How do you feel with all the journalism pieces that have gone out that's basically been criticizing Middle East ownership, for instance? What's your take on it?
It's a big one, isn't it? I feel that we, as a media, left-wing media in the country has to dismantle certain things and to scrutinize things like that. When it happens, it's right that we have journalism which does scrutinize. The where I draw the line is when it becomes used as like jokes, and it becomes about attacking fans, attacking fan morals who purely just want to watch the game. The news is there if you want to read about certain atrocities, human rights atrocities. But if you're just a fan and you're going to the game, the moral crusade I do find a bit unpalatable sometimes. I feel that it's sort of it's weaponized now a lot, even online, by people who don't care about sports washing. They'll just say oil club, etc., etc. When they have, they don't actually care about it. They'll just say it. And it's used by certain, there have been some journalists that say like trivializing the situation by making jokes about bone sores. And, it's like, well, if you're a journalist and you care about it, report on it, bring us the facts, tell us, even opinion to a degree, fine. But when you start to bring it down to the level of cracking wise about it and purely attacking fans, I bring up this thing again. It's, the average football fan, working class guy, they go to the game with their family, with their son, and that's the end of it. It's their club. It's all they need to do.
Well, it's one of them, isn't it? You just got to. There's nothing you could have done about it. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So you've just got to play with the cards you dealt with, haven't you? You just got to crack on.
Yeah, I feel again on the other side, I wouldn't ever bemoan a reporter for putting something out online or feel like hurt by that because they're just doing their job. But I feel that it's there to be engaged with if you want to do it. I don't feel that people who don't get involved with it are morally ambiguous or morally bankrupt or whatever. I personally just am not really involved. I mean, it could be considered a bit of a palm off this, but I just don't. I'm aware of it. Politically, I don't know too much about these kind of things. I'm a transfer journalist. It's not for me to say. It's for other people who have better grasp of information and facts to talk about the house.
Yeah.
So, as I say, I think there's for me, there's arguments on both sides. I'd never defend my club owners as heroes or anything like that. But in essence, it's like, you don't go to Old Trafford because you support the Glazer family. You go there because you support the club that you've been following since a young age. As I do not go to Newcastle. When I do go, very rarely, and support the PI5 funds, that is not who I support. I support a badge, a representation of the city in the northeast. And that's all there is to it, I suppose. But yeah, again, that's not to say people shouldn't criticize there's just a level of there has to be a degree of balance in the whole discussion, and also perhaps online is quite hard. Yeah,
I was just going to say that I think we'd all be happy with the slating of them or just the one-sided promotion of them if there was balance, like you said. Put out an article. Here's your pros. Here's your cons. You decide. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it has to be that, but then also I suppose you have to sort of counter into the fact that some newspapers will represent different political sides of the spectrum. So it'd be very surprising if, for instance, the Guardian did a story saying how amazing, the Qatar is because of their sort of political position. And it's there again. It's there if you to be read if you want to. No one forces anyone to read it. It's me where I get annoyed is when it gets to. By supporting the club, you personally are a bad person as a fan. And that's not right. But the actual publication and reporting of facts, don't really have an issue with. And of course, balance has to be in there as well.
So that's the problem, though, isn't it? It's individual political persuasion. Like you say, if the owner of one newspaper prefers this side and blah blah blah, and you're kind of told what you need to write as well, aren't you? In some cases, so. Like say one owner that's against them, we're not going to say, "Oh, we are, Jack. Go and write about how great they are," because like instead of political positions. But there's no way to get an unbiased, is there? Because someone's always going to have one political party over the other, and they just run by that handbook, don't they?
There's always there is always an editorial line, I suppose, for each one. Yeah, 100%.
To be fair, if you're looking at the problem I have with some of the journalism here, journalists, because I think it's unfair, but the journalists who seriously been hammering on this. He hammered it against Newcastle. He's hammered it against PSG, but his information is so poor. His research is so poor that he doesn't understand. The national religion for Qatar is the Wahhabi interpretation of Islam. So basically, they've changed certain things. He's turned around and made it clear they don't have a women's team. That's a lie. Okay, he said that women don't get an education. That's a lie. He's made very clear that they don't support equal rights when it comes to homosexuality. That's a lie. Because we've seen that with PSG.
Yeah, was it? Who was it now? Was it Idrissa Gueye that refused to wear the rainbow numbers at PSG and he got moved on, didn't he?
Yeah,
under his thing. Now we're seeing basically, to give you an example, why it's a lie when he said women don't get an education. When it comes to tertiary education, women hold more degrees in Qatar than men. That's a fact. I made that up. That's actually a fact. They hold more civil servant positions than men. That's a fact. In terms of what women had the women's ban in Qatar, when they uplifted the ban, what they then did was send women coaches to United States for 3 years to learn and get more experience from arguably the best nation and in the women's game of football for the last 20 years. And we have to agree, America's been that, have they not?
Yeah, women's USA football is pretty well up there. Yeah.
So when we talk now, we're going to LGBTQ rights. Did they stop the Paris Saint-Germain team under their ownership, the women's team? Did they support the Rainbow Act?
Yes.
Is this?
So, have they not made it clear? The person who basically organised the World Cup said they had no problem welcoming the LGBT community. They just asked for respect of public display of affection not to be done in public. Is that
Which
so?
can I just say, Jody, the public display of affection goes for straight people as well.
It wasn't just men. It was women. It wasn't. It wasn't just homosexuality. It's for heterosexuality.
No, it's across the board.
So it wasn't just that. It wasn't just one, but it's been blown up by a particular journalist for one, when he himself went to Qatar and enjoyed Qatari hospitality. So which one is it? You like their money when they're dishing about £1,000 a night hotel and giving you a 7-course meal, but you want to do clickbait on Twitter and write articles that are factually incorrect. Then you don't understand. Then you talk about sports washing. Okay, let's put this in perspective here on sports washing. Yes, they bought PSG, but why aren't we talking about the 100 billion invested in the UK over the last 25 years in aviation, construction, our security, cyber security, our NHS? Why?
And the certain journalist you're referring to as well, they actually own half of his newspaper.
Actually, no. Half of his newspaper are actually owned by PIS. So,
PIS.
yeah, it's obviously owned by the Public Investment Fund. The
Oh,
Independent is owned by the Public Investment Fund. It has ownership in there, as well as the Guardian. And I've noticed now, since they bought that, all the criticism of Saudi investment in Newcastle has ceased, has completely ceased. But yet you're now attacking PSG and just Manchester United alone. It's lazy, poor journalism I have a problem with here on this. Now, having spoken to you, Jack, you've seen firsthand how that journalist has originally attacked Newcastle and he's gone quiet. But to be fair, have they done anything damaging to Newcastle as a fan or a journalist?
Well, in terms of have PFI done anything to the club itself? I don't know. I mean, I've heard bits about the redevelopment of Newcastle, and there's proposals to sort of. I mean, even in East Manchester, there's been sort of gentrification going on by via the owners. Again, it's not. I'm not too like. I don't know too much about it. I guess. I suppose it put certain LGBT groups at Newcastle in a bit of an uncomfortable position at times. But I feel you mentioned Qatar and the World Cup and that. For me, I'd say there was a degree. Obviously you shouldn't be reporting stuff that's incorrect. And if you feel that there was like a switch when someone's company was brought over and they were reporting something a little out of whack, then obviously that wouldn't be on. But I feel when Messi, when he got the gown, I don't know the name of the gown. I do apologize at the very end. And I thought there's a lot of criticism around that. I don't know if you remember when Messi lifted the World Cup, they put something on him. And I thought, well, I got certain criticism of Qatar. They brought up about the rights. And for me, it was the working conditions of migrants there. That's what I've read. But when they started to attack the robe, and I was like, okay, that's not political, that's more cultural, and that's a completely different thing. So I was uneasy with that. So I guess for me, I've always sort of learned in between the two sides of it, and I suppose I can't really comment on the guys reporting and stuff, and I don't know much about Middle Eastern countries and stuff like that. Whether he's giving a poor or good reflection on these countries, but I understand frustration around that. It sort of feels like they're attacking your club and possible ownership. And I speak to a guy who covers Syria quite a lot, and he sort of told me, there has to be the same level of scrutiny over, say, America because of all the wars and stuff that they do. And even in Britain, we're no.
History in England isn't built isn't built great. Let's be absolutely honest. Look at the country. No. To be fair, to what we've done in our colonies. To be fair, America has the same problem right now. To be fair, the same for the Qataris as well. I think they've been overly criticised as well. Another one who's been overly criticised for sports washing. Unfortunately, he's in a field where, with the environmental and they call it greenwashing to a certain extent, with him buying Nice and now buying cycling team. I think he has a cycling team, if I'm correct.
The F1 as well.
Now he wants United. Now I understand his attraction of buying Manchester United. Now people are hammering him if it's going to be a leveraged buyout. Where's the debt going to go? To be honest with you, none of these questions are answered, but it's a process to being answered. But the same energy you put into the Qataris, put it into Elliott management, put it into Sir Jim Ratcliffe, be balanced about it. Now, I've got to the stage where I kind of feel now, if I'm going to do a piece, if I'm going to do a recorded piece, I have to basically, if I'm going to show admiration for the Qatari bit, I have to show admiration for the Sir Jim Ratcliffe bit or the Elliott management bit, whether I personally like it or not. That's balanced journalism. It is I don't want to come on as a typical top red, as they say, and just turn around and, because I have a personal preference, slam the other people who are basically trying to. Now, I'm not saying I'm right here on this one, but I feel that for me, I think there seems to be a fearmongering building amongst the Middle East, developing and building within the UK in terms of sports. But let's be honest, they've been part of sports for a long period of time. People just didn't want to accept. Now the biggest club in the world, with respect, is going to be owned by possibly Middle East. Do you believe there's a lot of fear mongering, Jack, within this, or do you feel it's just overhyped nonsense?
In terms of the reporting around the possible takeover of Man United by Qatar, I'm not sure. I feel that I feel that, you know, sometimes I have seen that creep in a bit where it goes overboard, and it's people are doing it for likes and stuff. But I'd say a bit more in the minority. To be honest, it's not content I fully engage with. Really, it's not something that I ingest sort of daily and stuff, because I suppose you mentioned the Newcastle stuff before. For me, that was just around whether it would go over the line, and that took about a year and a half of if it would happen. And that's all I was sort of looking at. That sort of journalism and stuff has just never really appeals to me. I feel people do, clearly, as yourself, feel very strongly about it, but it's not something I've looked at. I could say, oh, that's fear mongering or that much. I'm sure it does creep in, because I've seen comments and replies online which seem to be a bit baseless around, you know, as I said, oil club. It's like pretty meaningless. But I'm not sure. I mean, I suppose as you know, the Guardian, etc., they have their editorial line, and their reporters would be filling that. But then at the same time, you know, you've got the Times, who I think have sort of picked up in Ratcliffe a bit. So there is a little bit of balance there. But I suppose, again, I don't have the nuance of the Middle East, etc., to know what's right and what's wrong, and whether it's incorrect in that. And furthermore, it's not something I fully engage with anyway or read.
Yeah.
I think it's on the fans as well. I don't know if you'd agree with me, you guys, but like you said, obviously each paper kind of has their own agenda or put out certain news and not the other parts. But it's up to us fans as well. Like, say if you're a Daily Mail reader, for example, there are other newspapers. But if you're one of them, then you basically, if you only read that paper, you are only getting one side of the story. We also need to open ourselves up to more avenues of information. So we have to find that balance, because they're not going to give it to us.
100%. I think it's good to read a multitude of things, and I know people who read the same newspaper and then their opinions just end up being the same things what they're reading. And yeah, 100%. There should be you know, having a favorite newspaper, one you always go to. It's good to get a broad knowledge is so important. Knowledge is key in deciding things and forging your best opinion. So yeah, you know, read the Daily Mail if you really want to, but also read the Guardian, I suppose.
Okay, there's a couple of questions I want to go to. Actually, one is for Nick Ruby. Basically, he's the content owner for Mufc Realist, the channel on right now. I was going to pop it up. This is actually for you, Jack. Question from Ruby: Newcastle transfers considered new owners have not been as aggressive as most rather expected. Do you see them going big this summer?
Do I see them going big this summer? Yes, I'd imagine it'll be a couple of notches up from what happened before. Sorry, from last summer, where we broke our record for Alexander Isak, who was a former Arsenal target. Bruno Guimaraes was sniffed at by a lot of clubs. So I suppose what it means is when we were taking over and we were hailed as the richest club in the world by a significant margin, you were expecting Mbappe to come in, Neymar to come in, those kind of deals. It's been a much more calculated approach to things, organic approach, rather than getting a load of players on. I mean, you look at sort of Chelsea now, for instance, maybe that would be a similar thing to what people were expecting Newcastle to do. But we've got FFP will go up, I imagine, and we'll have a bit more room to manoeuvre. So I believe, I think there's going to be I imagine we'll break our transfer record again next summer. I imagine we'll spend more than we did last summer. So in that sense, yes, but I wouldn't expect Neymar or anyone to come or anything like that. That would be out of the equation, I imagine. So yeah,
I mean, especially if you get Champions League football, because like I said, it boosts up the FFP and what you can spend, and that's what Phil touches on here. He's asking you if the new owners are in place that are billionaires at United, how much do you expect the transfers to still be limited considering FFP? Because he knows Newcastle had to deal with the same thing.
How much do I expect the transfers to Newcastle? I'm not entirely sure. I think Man United will be getting rid of a lot of players on big wages. Harry Maguire, I think he's on 200k. I don't know what Fred's on. I'm guessing like 100, which is still quite meaty. So getting rid of that's going to give them a bit of a boost in terms of getting players over the lines. FFP, it's a bit of a minefield to me, to be honest. I know sort of what it's about. It's there to sort of constrain massive spending and getting clubs into huge debt. But yeah, I think with Man United, whatever happens is going to be a big change in scenery. I imagine maybe up to 10 players leaving in the fringes in the first team, and I don't know if they'll all be directly replaced. But then you've got some good players coming through the academy as well. So I think Elgarna's going to go, isn't he, on loan? It says today. So yeah.
I think when people are looking at FFP, the new FFP comes into play in June, and now it's income versus expenditure versus serviceable debt, which puts Man United in a very precarious situation. If the new owners do not come in and clear that debt, it's no free spend in summer. It's one out, one in, because unfortunately we have too many players on big contracts. David De Gea is on 375,000, which is a hell of a lot of money for a goalkeeper. When you imagine two of the best goalkeepers are on not even a third of that money in the Premier League. So Edison and Alisson, to be fair, and they're not even on a third of that money. So that's a lot of money to be paying out for a goalkeeper. Harry Maguire, we talked about. Fred. Scott McTominay's on very small money, to be fair, so I haven't really got a problem with that. Then you're looking at Lindelof is on decent money. Eric Bailly was good money himself. Phil Jones is on good money. Dalot's on very small money. Then you're looking at right back. I didn't realize this. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is one of the top 10 paid fullbacks in the country. So that's so close to 100. I did not even know.
Yeah, that's significant. Yeah, he seems to be perhaps on the way out. I guess it's because of the English tax, and I think he paid Palace a fair bit for him at the time as well.
50 million.
Yeah, 50 million is what I thought it might have been. So yeah, that is a lot of money for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and that also bodes, because if you bring them players in, excuse me, on big contracts, and then obviously you want to offload them, and the player's got 2 years left in his deal, he's not going to want to move from Man United where he's on 100k to say I don't know, Wolves where he'd be on 50k. You know, of course you're going to want to stay there even if you're not playing.
I mean, is there anything left, Jody? Because we are going to have to go. We have already run over as well. We don't want to keep Jack all day.
I will take the blame on this one this week. We have run late in that because I've really enjoyed the conversation with Jack, and obviously I will definitely. I will definitely speak to Niall, and I really hope you back. I hope we've not bored you to death. There's one comment I want to throw out.
Jody, Banjo is saying as well, Jody, he's so impressed with your balanced comments on Manchester United possible takeover. The likes of Miguel Delaney and Luckhurst, etc., being so embarrassing. And
I really appreciate this. Matt had one comment, and I promised Matt to do this. People may throw mud at Sheikh Jassim or SJR, but we live in an imperfect world. If we lived in a perfect world, I'd be streaming this video from a Caribbean beach. I swear to God, when I go to the beach house, Matt, I will do the stream from the beach house. It'll be good banter. Jack, thank you so much. I hope we'll get you on soon again. It's been absolutely brilliant. Obviously, we'll invite you when we're doing the recorded spaces. It'll be brilliant to get you onto the recorded spaces to hear your transfer news and get some of the Newcastle fans in there, because they're absolutely brilliant on the spaces. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for your takes on Newcastle, the ownership, what to expect, the motions going through it from a fan and as a sports journalist. And I'll let Niall wrap up.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
I echo everything Jody said there, Jack. Really appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much for your time. Sorry we took an extra 10 to 15 minutes out.
That's okay, no problem at all.
Oh, one more last thing, everyone. Please find Jack on Twitter, follow, retweet his stuff. It's amazing stuff. Give it a good insight reading, comment, like, share what Jack does. I'll be absolutely brilliant. Please and thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Your handle is JAC_Talbot, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, go find him on Twitter. He writes some great stuff as well, so go check that out. Thanks again, Jack. Nice one for that, buddy. Jody, take care, my man.
Buddy.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, guys. Bye. See ya. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching Mufc Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.